Work hard and look what you can accomplish.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today at the Crew-12 post-launch news conference. I am glad to be joined here today by NASA's administrator, Jared Isaacman, Professor Daniel Neuenschwander, Director of Human and Robotic Exploration from ESA, Steve Stitch, the manager of CCP, Dana Weigel, the manager of the ISS program, and Juliana Scheiman, Director of NASA Science and Dragon Programs at SpaceX. Each of our participants will give brief remarks, and then we will open up the floor to those of you here in the room and those of you calling in via telephone. If you want to get into the queue, please press *1, and out of the queue, *2. So with that, I will hand it over to Administrator Isaacman.
Thanks, Bethany. Good morning, everyone. What a absolutely wonderful start to the day. We saw a remarkable Crew-12 launch, a very impressive F9 return to launch site. I'm sure everybody heard that, all while Artemis II sits on the pad in preparation for its historic mission. So following this morning's launch operations, Dragon completed its on-orbit checkouts. Nose cone is open, and the crew are now safely on their way to the International Space Station. Teams throughout the agency, SpaceX, ESA, Roscosmos, and more continue to monitor progress of the mission ahead of its docking. I've said it before, I'll say it again, that this mission has shown in many ways what it means to be mission-focused at NASA. So just to recap, in the last couple of weeks, we brought Crew-11 home early. We pulled forward Crew-12 to the launch date today, all while simultaneously making preparations for the Artemis II mission, which its next window will open up in early March. That's only possible because of an incredibly talented workforce that we have here at NASA, alongside our contractors and our commercial and international partners. So along this mission, NASA is sending an astronaut into space again for the first time. So I want to congratulate Jack Hathaway. This is what he's trained for, and I know he possesses the qualities found in many accomplished astronauts. This crew will continue critical scientific research in the orbiting laboratory, but they will be making history in many other ways. For example, I think this is very exciting, we will have the first spaceship to space station call between the International Space Station and a lunar mission with Artemis II. Just really think about that, right? It's pretty exciting. I can only imagine what it's going to be like in the years ahead, right? You have multiple space stations that are up there, cruise cargo going to and from the lunar environment, people phoning home from a moon base. It's pretty exciting to think about, and we're taking a nice step in that direction in the mission ahead. In addition, this mission maintains our over 25 years of continuous human presence in low Earth orbit. So the crew, along with the subsequent ones to follow, will absolutely make the most of our International Space Station. We are going to get our highest potential science and research up there with the aim of cracking the code and igniting an orbital economy. So someday we do live in a world with lots of commercially operated space stations in line with our president's national space policy. And with that, I will turn it over to Steve Stitch.
Thank you, Administrator Isaacman, and thank you all for being here on a really happy morning. I'm proud to say we didn't talk about weather much at all after talking about weather for a whole week. We're blessed with really good launch site weather this morning and really good weather down the ascent track, which we've been monitoring all week, and we finally found the right day to launch on Friday the 13th. I understand this is the first time NASA's ever launched on Friday the 13th, so pretty amazing times. Really appreciate all the hard work between NASA and SpaceX and on Crew-12. It's great to get the launch behind us. Of course, that's the first step. The crew's doing well on orbit. Jessica, Jack, Sophie, and Andre are settling into their kind of off-duty period. They did a phasing burn a little while ago to set up the rendezvous. We'll be docking on Saturday about 3:15 Eastern. There will be another burn late tonight around just before midnight, another phasing burn. You know, we really didn't have too many things to work during the countdown. It was really quiet with Falcon 9 and Dragon. Nothing really off nominal. As Jared said, the spacecraft got on orbit. We checked out the service section Dracos. The forward bulkhead Dracos are firing just fine. All the systems on Dragon are working well, and so we'll just continue to monitor the progress of the vehicle until we get in. Looking forward to docking. Hopefully our teams will get a little rest today. It's been a busy, long week with the launch. I really want to thank all of our partners, U.S. Space Force, Detachment 3, U.S. Coast Guard, Department of War, the FAA, all the agencies that support us. I want to thank the Space Station program, SpaceX, and all our international partners. And I'll turn it over to Dana.
All right. Thank you very much, Steve. And thank you all for being here. I would like to extend my thanks and appreciation to the Commercial Crew Program and the SpaceX team for the tremendous amount of work that they did leading up to today's successful launch. And I'd also like to thank the Space Station team for being flexible and adapting all of the onboard plans in light of the early return of Crew-11. With today's launch, we've got docking tomorrow, as Steve said, 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time. That docking will be to our Node 2 Zenith port. Really looking forward to having the crew on board and having the extra helping hands. This will be the second flight for Jessica and Andre and the first flight for Jack and for Sophie. So really excited to have them on board. Chris is doing great on board along with the two cosmonauts. He's been doing research, cargo packing, and a little bit of tidying up, getting ready for Crew-12's arrival. When Crew-12 gets there, they'll spend a few dedicated days with Chris going through handover. Top of the agenda is going through the emergency response procedures, becoming familiar with the location of the emergency equipment, and then outfitting the Dragon with some of the standard emergency hardware. They'll also do familiarization work with some of the equipment that they would commonly interface with, toilets, exercise equipment, those types of things. They've got some critical research they'll be transferring for us in the first couple of days from freezers that we sent up with the Dragon. And then they've got a little bit of initial human research work that they'll be doing. And that's critical overall just for our long-term plans to fly longer and longer duration missions and making sure that we're taking care of astronauts as we look forward to Moon and Mars, longer durations. One unique, we've got Chris doing a little zone defense with the entire crew. We supplemented and had some onboard videos put together. So some of those were from previous crews, and then Chris made some. So when Crew-12 gets up there, they'll also do some video review. As you heard in the pre-launch briefing, we've got a busy few months in front of us on board Space Station. At the end of this month, we'll be undocking the SpaceX 33 cargo mission. Beginning of March, we will unberth HTV X1. We've got a very brief docking sensor demonstration we'll do with the vehicle, then we'll release it. In mid-March, we're planning to do an EVA to finish installing a modification kit to one of our solar arrays. This is called the 2A array, and that's in preparation for upgraded IROSA rollout arrays that are coming up later in the summer. We've got a second EVA in April to install the other modification kit on our very last array, the 3B array. Towards the end of March, our Roscosmos colleagues are going to launch a Progress cargo resupply vehicle. And then in April, we've got the Northrop Grumman 24 Cygnus mission. So a lot going on, as always, very, very busy on board Space Station. And we're really looking forward to having the crew on board. With that, I will pass it over to Daniel.
Okay. Thanks, Dana. Let me start by congratulating everybody for this amazing launch. Everything went really flawlessly, so thanks to the teams at ESA, NASA, SpaceX, and all the partners for their incredible work done. My first thought, of course, is going to the crew, and Sophie in particular. This is just the start of a journey. I know that they are very well prepared, and I'm really excited to see the next steps unfold. Sophie will be the first of her astronaut class to embark on a long-duration mission, and she had an incredible journey. I cannot stress enough how well she has been performing in a very short duration of time. Something unanimously underlined by her trainers is her mindset, which is well reflected in the patch of the mission. On top of Crew-12, on Expedition 74 patches, we also have an ESA patch, because we never get enough of those, of course. The name of her mission is something she chose, something she felt aligned. It's called Epsilon, and it reflects the power of small yet impactful contributions and how multiple parts unite to create a whole. A nice message of modesty, underlying that an astronaut is only, in bracket, a part of a wider group, one piece of a complex puzzle. We are really all very proud of her and how she represents ESA, Europe, and France. I also take the opportunity today to reaffirm ESA's commitment to the International Space Station and the peaceful exploration of space. We are here this morning after the launch of 2 Americans, a Russian and a European, as one crew. This is again a testimony of what we can achieve together. The ISS stands as a powerful symbol of humanity. Our meeting this week between NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman and ESA Director General Joseph Aschbacher gave us the opportunity to reaffirm our shared commitment of continuing this remarkable journey. Together, we are already preparing the next chapter, guided by common objectives, increasing the pace of human space flights and creating new opportunities for research and scientific discovery. But low Earth orbit is not our final destination. We also, this night, also SLS on the pad. And I'm confident that through the Artemis program, to which ESA provides key contributions, we are returning to the moon because we want to stay there. And down the road, Mars will follow. Finally, today, from every corner of Europe, we fly with Sophie. And with that, over to Juliana from SpaceX.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here today to celebrate the launch of the Crew-12 mission. As you've heard, Falcon 9 successfully lifted off and safely delivered the Dragon spacecraft and its crew to the intended orbit. And as you also heard, the Dragon spacecraft will be approaching the ISS tomorrow at 3:15 p.m. Eastern. And after the successful docking of the Dragon spacecraft to the International Space Station, the SpaceX team's next big milestone, as you heard Dana mention, is the CRS-33 Dragon return, which we're targeting at the end of this month. So it's also a busy time for SpaceX too. I have a few fun statistics. This launch, the Crew-12 mission, is the 20th human spaceflight mission that SpaceX has launched. Also, when the Dragon capsule docks with the International Space Station, it will be the 51st time a Dragon spacecraft has docked with ISS, or has visited ISS, I should say. Also, the Dragon spacecraft Freedom, this is its 5th flight. It previously launched Crew-4, AX-2, AX-3, and most recently Crew-9, and now Crew-12. Also, as you heard the administrator mention, this is also a first for SpaceX, where the booster returned to its launch site, its actual launch site, LC-40, and which is, I always like to think that the booster feels like it's returning home when it returns exactly to the launch site. So that's a fun one. And that's something we'll be doing going forward. LC-40 is where our landing zone is. And yeah, on behalf of everybody at SpaceX, we are incredibly proud to support human spaceflight missions and all of the amazing science and research that happens on the International Space Station. So on behalf of everyone at SpaceX, we want to give a big thank you to our partners for their trust in us, and thank you for flying SpaceX. And back to you, Bethany.
Great. With that, we will open the floor to questions. I see we have so many people here in the room. And I also just want to remind the people who are dialing in that you can dial *1 to get into the queue and *2 to get out of the queue. We have a microphone here in the room, so if we want to go right over here.
Hi, JoshDinnerspace.com. Thanks for doing this. Were there any lessons learned from Crew-11 that have informed maybe future pre-launch readiness procedures? Crew-12 got to launch a little bit early. Is there anything in the future, should you need to bring another crew home early, that the next crew on deck will be ready to take over in a different or a quicker way?
Yeah, I mean, the vehicle, we were able to we were processing Dragon a little bit ahead of schedule the whole time, and so we looked at the readiness of Dragon, and we're able to accelerate it a little bit. We probably could have moved the launch up a little bit more with Dragon and Falcon 9. At the end, when you look at the totality of a mission, it's It's getting the vehicles, the hardware, and the software ready, and also the crew. And so in this case, crew training was what drove the date that we selected. So we're looking at all those things. We are working already ahead for Crew 13 and trying to have Dragon ready a little bit early again. We have that luxury right now with our manifest. And I'll see if Dana has anything to add.
Yeah, I would just add that, we've got 7 people total on board Space Station. And the way we're flying today, we have a cosmonaut who flies with us. Of course, Andre launched with us today. And then we've always got a USOS crew member, a NASA crew member who's on the Soyuz. And so, though it's more challenging with only one set of hands, we do have other folks on board who can help us if we really need extra sets of hands. So the way I look at it, though it's not ideal if you have to bring a crew home early, there's no immediate crisis or emergency. We can manage that. We've flown before with 3 crews.